hide here if you can as the winning team, because that, you know, if not in like total standing, or like, you know, at least in skill, sets you a cut above the rest.
Now there is one thing though, because we are on Ilios and there is Ruins here, PB and Jam does have a Widowmaker that's pretty good that we've seen her so far. Jam, not too sure, but we're not on Ruins yet. Gonna start things out on Well.
It almost feels kind of weird to have the guy called PB and Jam not be on Jam, but, you know, just gonna have to...
It's the extra PB that makes the difference.
It's the PB that really changes things. And it's actually the PB that really transforms that sandwich as it happens. But it is going to be Render and PB and Jam both on the Pharah early on. But you already see PB and Jam just well set up here. But taking a couple of aerials, not quite going to get the extra rocket connects to seal the deal. But Aerial is actually going to close it out. But never mind that, because PB and Jam still in the skies, even merciless as he may be. Or indeed, he is a merciless Pharah player as he starts to cut apart the rest of the team. Jam now just a little bit in disarray. Not quite what he was after.
A little bit slow on the follow-up there. You saw the double rockets land, one into the Mercy, one into the Pharah, and then the follow-up coming from Virginia slightly after the fact. Yes, they did manage to get Rekka, but PB cleaned up, he cleaned up Render, and then he had clean, free reign over the skies. Alter Ego had a big advantage after that. Jam didn't have a response.
Unfortunately so, and Alter Ego being established on the point now with some ultimates starting to come their way. That being said, Render closer to the Rocket Barrage could actually be the swing point here for Jam. They're going to have to get a lot of leverage out of it. And actually killing PB and Jam is a great way to start, but the follow-up is there. They're trying to take Render out of the picture as quickly as possible, but not quite able to do so. Sadboy having to back off, but now losing Joy Boy as well, the other half of that tank duo. This is actually a great start for Jam, needing to get a little bit more follow-up, but should be able to do so.
That was really good as well. The fact that Render was able to win that 1v1, still managed to get the Rocket Barrage, and similar to what we've seen earlier this week, especially on Ilios when there are two Pharahs, eliminating the other Pharah is going to give you a free way to use that Rocket Barrage without too much in response. So Jam, nice, clean, sort of come back there, a little bit behind in terms of progress, but they got more ult so far.
And actually PB and Jam isn't quite close to his Rocket Barrage either just yet, which is a little unfortunate. Render may even start to kind of match him here if this fight goes well for Jam, but Alter Ego kind of weathering the initial storm. Oh, nice sort of pressure down onto Sleep Easy, barely able to get out, but Jam having to start to commit a few ultimates into this one, namely the Valkyrie. Gonna have to see Alter Ego committing a few of their own here, the sound barrier to kick things off. Oh, Crimson Wolf caught D-Mechan, unfortunately hadn't quite got out of the line of Sadboy's self-destruct, and now Alter Ego looking decent in this fight. Res in for Crimson Wolf, but while that time is being taken, it's damage that is going unanswered onto the tanks and supports of Jam, now slowly getting beaten back. It is extra time on the point though, have now surpassed Alter Ego, but it's Alter Ego with the upper hand, especially as Render gets rocketed out of the sky.
And this time it's going to be the Rocket Barrage out of PB as well, cleaning up rather a few extra kills. Jam have run out of tools here though. They sort of used the Valkyrie, they used the sound barrier. It was responded by equal ultimates on the Alter Ego side. Jam did manage to get a little bit more progress, just sneak their way past by a little bit, but not quite enough to give themselves enough pressure to win the game. Long-range air shot as well by PB and Jam, as Alter Ego now looking to even up that percentage count.
PB is actually waiting for Rekka to come back, at least for the time being. He did go down quite late in that fight, so it is a little dangerous for him, but Rekka should be back in the fight now. And Alter Ego just looking to try and take a very advanced, aggressive fight here, but the stick on the Joy Boy, plus losing Sadboy here, who, by the way, was not actually back in the mech. Doesn't really matter that Render's dead here. Atar kind of has free reign around this point now. You see that as he and Virginia, taking out Xiao Bao, now looking to get onto the backline, so they pop a Kraken, losing Sleep Easy on the backside, not too big a deal. PB and Jam can only do so much alone, and now they can finally turn their attention to him. Jam Gaming just kind of hitting back with force here.
Now you're starting to see the work that Atar is doing as well. The team play with Virginia in the middle of that. Late Valkyrie is a little bit questionable out of Prowler, but Alter Ego are probably going to be forced to come in as the tail end of that Valkyrie will still be running out. Still a couple ultimates ahead of Alter Ego, but Alter Ego are so close. They're about to have so many tools to potentially take this back.
And that's really what the swing point is going to have to be. I mean, do Jam get a lot with their ultimates here? And even if they do, can Alter Ego just kind of secure it after that? But at 90%, all it could take is one fight win. You already see the tools being committed here. At least the Primal Rage out of Virginia, but they need to get more leverage than that. PB and Jam getting the opening kill. Sound barrier to keep Alter Ego nice and safe, as even Rekka gets one on Render. Virginia trying to answer back, but it is the Rocket Barrage from PB and Jam that is going to seal the deal. Render's own to just not get the same mileage, and Jam committing ultimates and also not winning the fight. Alter Ego winning the fight, keeping some of their own ultimates, as now they find themselves in that same position where they may be the ones one fight away from securing it.
Still just losing a couple members off the back though. Rekka with the res gonna bring Joyboy back, so thankfully they did manage to have that. Double tank ults now. Sadboy died with a self-destruct in the last fight. May have made it a little bit more difficult to Alter Ego to cap, but now they have a couple extra to use on top of Jam, and this will now be the very final fight.
Absolutely, no matter how it goes, right? And I mean, this is already quite deserving, I would say, of the caliber of this matchup, at least how we've sort of set it up to be. A Kraken going down to the self-destruct, but is traded back, so Alter Ego are the ones taking a fight well away from the point. Jam having to get onto it, but as they do so, they're coming out the top of it. PB and Jam out. Prowler already having committed the res. Sleep easy. Nice ultimate out onto the point, keeping Jam nice and healthy as they just seek to clean up the remainder of Alter Ego. Looking to get the cap after that. Joyboy down. Now a Kraken actually dying quite late in that one. And I don't know if there's really a good time for Alter Ego to pile in for one last-ditch effort.
There really isn't, and now another Valkyrie as well, just sort of used at the end there to secure things from Paolo onto Jam. One of the most important kills that Jam were able to get towards the end was Render getting the double air shot onto the opposing fire on the Alter Ego side, and that was a big, big deal. I mean, like, he sort of just opened himself up straight away. PB and Jam going down ended up being pretty costly. Those 2 extra tank ultimates that Alter Ego has had, not getting the full effect.
That was a tough one on the whole. I mean, it went down to the final fight. Like, let's take that for what it's worth. But certainly, I mean, we said this was going to be a close one, but part of me is actually a little surprised at how close that did end up being, especially when I had just said I kind of favored Alter Ego coming into this, but at any rate, this is where we are.
I think we favor Alter Ego a little bit more when we get to something like Ruins, but they have to get to Ruins first. If they don't win this one, this is going to be 2-0 for Jam on the pull.
PB and Jam actually going to be out on the Sombra for this one. That's a 1-for-1, but I think Render being out of the picture plays in the favor of Alter Ego because ATAR can only do so much on his own. Is a good player in his own right, but as I say that, it does seem to be that ATAR and Virginia together are just proving to be this unmitigated hit-and-run squad that Alter Ego are just finding themselves unable to deal with, at least for now.
And you have to look at what the difference between those early picks means. Losing Joyboy versus losing Render on the opposite side. You lose a bit of damage from Render, but you lose so much frontline pressure, so much HP and damage mitigation from Joyboy. That opens up ATAR and Virginia to clean up the rest of the kills onto Alter Ego versus Alter Ego not being able to do the same thing against both Virginia and Crimson Wolf on that front line.
And now, hack onto Render, at least pops him out of sight for a moment, but the follow-up just not... No, as I say that, PB and Jam does go in for it, but trades back. ATAR and Virginia.
Same
once
duo.
again, yeah, just pulling so much weight here, and Alter Ego do need to start figuring out how to shut this down, and funnily enough, killing Virginia may be the way to go about that, but the self-destruct killing Sadboy and ATAR still able to do work in the fight. Alter Ego just not really finding their way in here.
But they might actually find it if they get this EMP off from PB and Jam. Importantly, they need to target Sleep Easy with this. That's an easy kill anyway if it's a Zenyatta, but also the fact that they have both of those the Sound Barrier and the Transcendence double support ultimates coming up. If they can get both, it's big, but unfortunately, ATAR has something to say about it. He's got a lot to say about it.
Look at that! ATAR, both supports in one, after taking what was the big tool for that fight completely off the board. Alter Ego now having lost so much time. They've been waiting for that EMP. Didn't even get a chance to use it the first time around, and are now going to start running out of time. Like, if they get another fight like that, they could just end up losing the map before they even get a chance to use that tool.
In terms of tempo, they're easily 1 fight behind, if not 1.5, maybe even 2 by now. Alter Ego, they're waiting to use these ultimates. They want to rotate into other ultimates and already have the point, but they're just now catching up.
There it goes, finally able to commit it, and they do get the closeout on Prowler, Virginia as well. ATAR still doing work in the fight, indeed enough to get PB and Jam, and actually a Kraken going down without using that Transcendence could come back to bite them because these DPSs from Jam are still in it. They can use their ultimates now and will do so if that's what they need to secure the fight. And by the way, a fight secure here for Jam would actually see them winning Ilios, and that is the way it's going as Rekka just getting run around the point goes down to the trained guns of ATAR, as does Sadboy. And that's looking like it could be the one. A Kraken finally able to come in with the Transcendence that he did not use earlier, but he may wish that he had used it earlier because there's just no one to be saving with that Transcendence. Unfortunately, no one to pass into that Iris as Render and ATAR are just continuing to keep Alter Ego beaten down. That's 100-0. That's Ilios going to Jam.
And that is a much more convincing win than what we just saw onto Well as well. We didn't even make it to Ruins. We wanted to talk about PB and Jam being a good Widowmaker. You're not even going to see it just yet. That Ruins would have been pretty good for Alter Ego, but so far, look, ATAR was outstanding on this map.
And here you see that play of the game. This is where he runs down PB and Jam, one clips him, then straight in with the Pulse Bomb onto a Kraken and Wrecker.
Yep.
I mean, that's the dream, right? Like, that is a one-man fight win.
That was pretty incredible, actually, from ATAR. I mean, we all know the caliber of a player that he can be, and I think we haven't really seen him hit that peak just yet in AU Contenders. Maybe today's the day.
Well, I mean, this would be a pretty great day for it to happen, right? I mean, just as we were saying, like, hey, we feel Alter Ego maybe coming into this a little bit favored. Maybe ATAR is actually the X Factor that completely changes that script.
I don't think ATAR has even not been an X Factor for this team. I mean, a World Cup player himself, one of the best in Australian history throughout history of this entire scene. It's just like, you know, we expect ATAR to be playing at this caliber. It's Alter Ego that need to be ready for it.
And this is the day for him to show up.
Yeah, it really is. Do you guys feel like you want to change your opinion after seeing that first match, or are you still sitting on the Alter Ego train?
Well, I wonder if Ben has maybe spotted like a magical thing here, like the Illuminati conspiracy of like it's got to be fours all down the left side, and like maybe Jam has seen that. They're like, you know what, he's right.
Yeah. I don't want to make judgments too quickly. I want to see a couple of extra maps, and sort of I want to see all 4 maps, and I'll tell you. I want to see at least. Okay, I want to see at least one more map. But I think Alter Ego, we may still see a sort of comeback here. Look, Nepal, sorry, not Nepal, Ilios, great start, a little bit shaky-ish on Well. That Well was actually super close, so that could still mean a lot of things could change.
Okay, well, you said you wanted to see one more map. I'm going to give you that. Let's have a look and see what map it is going to be. But after Numbani, I want to hear your solid thoughts on this one, AVRL. Numbani heading into it, though, for both of these two teams. Jam haven't yet played it actually in AU Contenders.
And that could be maybe a curveball to them. I mean, you don't want to say that too empirically as always, but I mean, certainly it's at least untested in this particular instance.
Well, let's talk about certain strengths and weaknesses here, because for Jam, Render's been pretty good on the Pharah. We know ATAR's just going to be ATAR on the Tracer or whatever he wants to play, and that's just going to be fine. And we've also seen a lot of teams have success with the Pharah, at least on the early stages of Numbani. And for PB as well, we want to see him play Widowmaker, but he's not going to play it here.
Yeah. Oh, well. There's always another time. There's other maps. There's other times we get to see that Widowmaker from PB, but... yeah, you're right. Not here. But ultimately, I kind of feel on Numbani here at least. Certainly, this is where we want to see Alter Ego just dealing with that kind of ATAR-Virginia combo just a little bit better. Like, we want to see them learn a bit from Ilios.
There's one other factor as well. We haven't seen Trace in so far. It's been Zhao Bao on the Tracer instead, and that's... I want to say a little bit of a detriment so far for Alter Ego, because Zhao Bao is actually usually a support player, and Trace has been pretty impactful. You want to go back to the Alter Ego Surge matchup. Part of why that was such a clean 4-0 for them was Trace had such a great job at having impact, getting those early kills, kind of like what ATAR is doing. And without your star Tracer play on your team, you're not keeping ATAR in check.
Especially when you have to, I mean, even if you're not directly taking him on, you've still got to at least match the amount of work that ATAR is doing. So I think you raise a very valid point there. We'll have to see how well it works out for Zhao Bao here, and also whether Jam are able to kind of continue that dynamic duo of ATAR and Virginia, or if Alter Ego have learned a little bit, maybe figured out how to deal with it.
Here comes a dive straight away. It's going to force a few members from Jam off. But how resilient are Jam going to be? And in fact, pretty resilient as it turns out.
Yeah, PB and Jam dove in very, very deep there. I mean, it paid off. He got sleep easy, but as it happened, I mean, the tanks on the front line were just getting far too pressured down. Reses have come in, and they are deciding to stick in the fight here, but they're just losing a few too many members. Never really had the numerical advantage. That felt like just a slightly disjointed dive from Alter Ego.
I think it was actually a better response from Jam Gaming rather than looking at the Alter Ego perspective. For Jam, they knew when to pull back, they knew how much distance to give away, and with Render, he was able to get clean sight lines as well, sleep easy. He was discorded, he looked like he was going to go down, managed to stay up against supporting Render, supporting the rest of the team, able to get those counter trades, and Alter Ego just kind of forced back.
Unfortunate as that was, and I mean, yeah, like even when you saw Sleep Easy go down, they could commit a res without too much difficulty, because by that point, Prowler didn't need to be on the front lines. Just, you're quite right, the timing was just kind of working out there, but this is the dive that they were needing. Yeah, straight onto Render. Joyboy does get pressured out for that, but they're taking the fight well away from the point, just trying to get rid of Virginia here. Will be able to get the closeout. Rez coming into Render, but he's now got a lot of work cut out for him as he re-enters the fray here. And he's already kind of surrounded on all sides. At least does have Prowler in the pocket, but how long is that going to really pay off for? The fight is also happening on the point, by the way, as Alter Ego kind of getting the numerical superiority. Now just looking to run down Prowler. Zhao Bao needs to be careful to not go in too deep, but this is 2/3 now on the point, and no real contest coming in yet from Jam until just now at the last minute.
Virginia's going to get burnt down pretty quickly if he's not too careful.
Oh.
And it's going to also be the PB and Jam response. Going to force out a few extra ultimates from Alter Ego before they, I guess, eventually cap out here. But it is an eventual cap out. Jam, they lost Render pretty early, and when he got rezzed, had to waste a lot of time running away from Xiaobao, who was pretty much a menace on that back line for the most part, stopping respawners from easily coming in. Virginia, he played for the desperation thing, and it didn't quite work out.
That was a double-edged sword there for Alter Ego as well. They were able to, sorry, for Jam rather, they were able to punch through that sort of very aggressive defense that Alter Ego are playing with there, and you know, were able to force out the Dragon Blade as well, but I feel like by the time they got through, the cap was all but inevitable, and it did give more ult charge over to other members of Alter Ego, so kind of 50-50.
And this is where they get to use that ult charge as well. Alter Ego is so far ahead. Is that a stick? Not quite.
Not quite.
Didn't pick up any kills, but they still have a lot more resources to use.
Yeah, Joyboy had to commit the Primal Rage there, unfortunately, just to preserve his life total. They are making it work for them, though, even as they lose Xiaobao. That's a good one, catching the kill with the remake. Not one we get to see too often, but Alter Ego, it was an expensive fight, actually. They had to commit quite a bit, but you also have to respect that Jam committed a few ultimates of their own, and Alter Ego do still keep the progress on the payload. That's really what's going to count here.
We'll have to see if they can cap out off of that as well. Alter Ego need to be very mindful of respawners, exactly where they are and where they're going to come in from, because if they did spend too much and they don't get this full cap out, that's going to be a big detriment. Jam Gaming, though, just a little indecisive, weren't too sure whether they wanted to jump in or not.
Yeah, I feel like they went for the respectful option, which I don't think was a bad call, but certainly it does put the pressure back on them now. But already ATAR and just opening them up, right? Again, that dive combo. I mean, you've also got to consider it's a dive trio with Crimson Wolf in the mix there, but once again, the pressure going unmitigated, and actually with a decisive fight win like that, Jam are now also very well charged in their ultimates, so it seems that giving away that cap on B was very much a calculated move by them, and are now looking pretty well set to have a long and deep defense here on C.
Well, you got to be able to respect the safe decision out of Jam, right? Didn't go for the risky play that, look, might have ended up better off. High risk, high reward even, but for Jam, 5 ultimates on defense, on C as well, which is the most defendable part for the defensive team. This is where you really want to set yourself up.
Alter Ego are going to have to get a lot of mileage out of these DPS ultimates here. Otherwise, Jam should just be able to start, you know, really just outpacing them, especially if they can get those low economy fight wins. That's really what they're going to be looking for here. And here's going to be the commit now from Jam. They don't want to let the payload go any further. Wrecker, the first casualty. The dive very clean and coordinated, and a Kraken just a little bit too late on that kind of rescue Transcendence. And this is the kind of cheap fight that Jam are maybe after, having only committed the 2 so far. The tank ultimates, and indeed off the back of that, it becomes a rout. Forcing out the Transcendence early was very nice. Alter Ego do rotate into some good ultimates in their own right, though, so maybe not as quick as Jam needed.
They might get a stagger here as well onto Sandboy, which would make him a bit of a sad boy. Gets another kill to record. Sandboy finally now resets himself, so a little bit more time wasted, and, you know, it's Wrecker dying, coming back, dying again. That's a big time waste as well. Jam, that assassination duo of ATAR and Virginia so far, finding those early picks, that's part of what gives you a low economy fight, because getting the 6v5 quite early, then forcing out this Transcendence that doesn't have maximum value, that's a big win.
They are just getting straight back into the fight here, though. Alter Ego recognizing the opportunity, but maybe not quite getting what they wanted out of it. 2 for Render with that tactical visor, and Alter Ego a little bit more committed than I think was maybe ideal there, given that, once again, cheap defense for Jam. But at the same time, Alter Ego are slowly wearing through the resources that Jam had initially on C, and with 2.5 minutes to go, there is enough time for them to start getting some real blowout fights.
And second time now, they're going to have a late death, so all of these late deaths do add up towards the end, and if you have enough of these, you're going to just lose out an entire fight in a row. So for Alter Ego now, they've had one sort of compositional change. Wrecker now onto the Moira instead of the Mercy, so hopefully that works out just a little bit better for them, helps them get into that dive as well, because Jam, they look like they're maybe finally out of resources, but an early pick, well, that's all you need.
Yeah, now PB and Jam doesn't have the safety to dive. The members, I mean, Wrecker has to heal everyone. There's no way he can do that. ATAR, by the way, is still kind of unanswered back here after getting that opening pick on a Kraken. I mean, it's exactly what you were just talking about, right? Even a late one on Xiaobao. Oh, sad boy, way too late on that one. Has to take a dive here as well, which just adds extra time in that instance. This is really rough for Alter Ego.
It's a twofold thing. It's at the start and also at the end, Jam are able to get an early pick, forcing a 6v5, which gives them the easy fight, and then at the end as well, a very late pick, which wastes a little bit of time for Alter Ego. So both factors, when combined, is what's going to give Jam rather a very big edge.
I mean, that was, once again, just kind of on the back of ATAR there. You know, that sort of one-man fight, like what we saw in that play of the game on Helios, but certainly not over till it's over, and with the opening kill on Sleep Easy, PB and Jam, though, once again, without being able to use that Dragon Blade. They do drop Crimson Wolf's mech, though, and now it's really only Virginia with this Primal Rage to stall things out, but he doesn't need to use it yet, at least not until the cart starts moving. So now we see Alter Ego having to commit more to get said cart moving. A Kraken with the Transcendence, trying to get in, waiting for the respawn on PB and Jam. He has, like, come back in, but he hasn't rejoined the fight just yet. They have used these resources now, Jam. Need to really start stopping up the cart in earnest.
Alter Ego have had a few kills in a row now. They've finally lost their first member. And PB and Jam, look, we've waited for this Dragon Blade, saved it for a while. Easily picks up too, so this is what he's been looking for.
That is what he's been looking for. Would have liked to have maybe got Sleep Easy before he could commit that Transcendence, because that's one that Jam can now use to stall out, wait for these respawns. But Alter Ego can still keep up the pressure potentially, but not if AVRL has something to do with it. Oh, catches PB and Jam and Sad Boy's mech. Instant follow-up onto Sad Boy himself thanks to Render's Tactical Visor. 20 seconds is just enough time for one last-ditch effort here for Alter Ego, but that was exactly what Jam needed, buying just enough time for all those respawns.
Jam did struggle a little bit just at the end there. Prowler looked like he was nearly trapped inside the house in that middle there with Valkyrie up. Render with the Tactical Visor just coming up in time, and AVRL clutching it towards the end, killing enough members to force that full reset.
Now Joy Boy going to get straight into the thick of it, leading the charge. They've got the ultimates potentially. Crimson Wolf, though, could have something to say about it if this self-destruct catches Sad Boy. That's not ideal for them, but they are getting some kills. They got Render. They need to deal with AVRL, and they're keeping the supports caught in this base at least. But the prisoners to be there on the cart. Joy Boy down as he dives back to it, and that just removes all tank presence. Now the rest of the members of Alter Ego just too squishy under AVRL's guns. And looking to close out these last few kills is just the supports now. A Kraken dead. It's only Wrecker. The tanks may try and fly in, but it's not going to count for anything. No, overtime disappears. Not quite getting the full cap out there, Alter Ego.
And look how far they made it as well. So far towards the end, but not quite there. And a lot of that has to come down to the fact that in the middle phase of that C, they wasted so much time. And I don't want to say it's them wasting the time here, because Jam also were able to find so many openings. Got to go back to the fact that they found the opening picks every single time as well, then getting that delayed kill. It's that front end and back end combo of getting those picks that really helped Jam push it away. And for Alter Ego, because they lost so much time, they couldn't capitalize right at the end when they did finally get some momentum.
And you've got to consider, right, like, if all of that time hadn't been lost, like, it probably amounted to at least a minute total. You know, that's an extra push. That's enough to maybe cap out there, or at least have the time to draw those last few ultimates out of Jam to set up for your last push, which is something Alter Ego did not have to play with. So, you know, again, you are actually seeing the caliber here that comes out. I mean, especially from AVRL, but you do have to credit the team as a whole. But it is so often AVRL getting the opening pick and then also being willing to go aggressive to get the late kill as well. And I think Alter Ego need to start respecting that when they are on the retreat.
But you also do see when Alter Ego get their plan underway, because that final push and a half, as we got into the overtime, a huge string of kills from Alter Ego. It was like 4 or 5 in a row before somebody finally responded from Jam, got the kill into Xiao Bao finally. That was the first death on Alter Ego for most of that push, and they got all of their cart distance, or the majority of their cart distance, off just that one push, and it looked like they only had about one push in all of C. That's the kind of difference it makes.
Now we'll have to see how they work on their own defense, because of course we do say all this, but defense being a very different beast. I mean, there's still a world in which Alter Ego full hold here. Let's not forget that. There's also a world in which it takes Jam a long time to cap, and then they end up stopped somewhere up on the street space. So certainly not over yet. And Alter Ego, despite not fully capping out, still kind of have this within striking distance.
And it's not going to be far from Render, at least not yet anyway. The Genji Tracer combo now going to add a little bit more firepower to that dive. We've seen a little bit of this on Ilios already, and it worked out pretty nicely.
There is said dive. AVRL, already into the thick of it, but they have kind of lost a few too many, I feel, here. Jam, yeah, indeed. Prowler going down. PB and Jam on the Tracer actually really starting to put in the work here. They've lost a few, but yeah, Jam have lost just too many more, and they're actually taking a really long time to retreat here, unfortunately. Gives Alter Ego plenty of time to reset.
PB's backline pressure was really impressive there for Alter Ego. As Jam wanted to make the dive in, their frontliners dived, their backliners tried to follow up, but PB and Jam caught them out. PB and Jam able to collect those extra kills, force the player advantage there, and push Alter Ego ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Jam's own defense in that same position looked very good, but you've got to credit Alter Ego. That was really, really nicely handled. And now let's see if they can handle it again, because once again, the initial push from Jam not quite coming off to great effect. Members getting low. Sadboy self-destruct on the point. The zone members off as they once again catch the back line. Joyboy with the dive pressure between him and PB and Jam is good. They do lose PB, and now Render trying to close out with the Dragon Blade, but he's low. Goes down to Xiao Bao. Shut down indeed. Jam on the point though. Alter Ego just barely getting on to stop that up. A nice stick from ATAR, but it's not really quite in time because Alter Ego have once again kind of withstood everything, nearly getting the third as well for Jam, but not quite.
Getting the stick onto Xiao Bao instantly into the res as well, so not going to achieve too much there for Jam Gaming. Another full reset and more ultimates used as well. Render and ATAR, the damage combo of those ultimates are now gone, taken off the table. On the other hand, Alter Ego, PB still up there. He's been pretty effective so far. He's been one of the driving forces of this defense, and he can continue that. Like you said, there's running out of time now, not even one tick.
And they've cycled into the key defensive tools now. The Transcendence from a Kraken and the Primal Rage from Joyboy that can use store for respawn. As I say it, Joyboy unfortunately going down, and Jam have committed their own resources here. Does get the catch onto Rekka as well. This is not going nicely for Alter Ego, unfortunately, and that's with some of those resources committed. That was devastating. I mean, for how well every other defense had been handled, they just kind of crumbled under that one.
This is a little bit ridiculous because the Kraken had the Transcendence up and still you lost Rekka. Joyboy had the Primal Rage up, still he went down, and now they're trying to come in. It's a little bit too late. The Kappa's already gone, and the Primal Rage is coming in. He might get burnt down. If he does lose his life here, Alter Ego going to be forced so far back.
I mean, he gets out, but that was officially a wasted tool, and the Kraken maybe even going to get staggered out here. No, not quite. They do at least recoil, but like that was a mistime there from Alter Ego. There was no reason to really go in at that point, and that was after the fight had already gone sour. At that point, take it on the chin, set up for another defense.
Alter Ego like losing their minds here because they had 2 minutes of great defense and then huge mistakes coming in.
Joyboy.
And ATAR is ready to punish.
Joyboy, though, staying alive through that pulse bomb. You say ready to punish, but he hasn't quite got it just yet. Now the tactical visor from Xiao Bao is going to be what does the work here, pressuring his members of Jam, who are actually very split up here. They hadn't really been moving the payload a whole lot either. Alter Ego kind of getting a defense for free and will actually be able to set up quite far forward.
Yep.
That's, I mean, it's a gaff in equal measure by Jam now.
So this is now where Alter Ego can set up a sort of spawn hold here. Sort of a spawn, I guess, just locking them in there. And Jam, they've got a couple of ultimates. Render's going to have to look for Dragon Blade targets, but for Alter Ego, door control is going to be quite important.
They've got the tools to kind of punch through this one, but they've got to use them. Virginia going down means doesn't look like they can use them. He could have opted to use the Primal Rage.
Alter Ego should push for kills.
Not to, yeah. Now ATAR a little bit low, trying to sort of play hit and run tactic. Goes down late on this one. Jam just need to, again, much like Alter Ego did a moment ago, need to kind of take this one on the chin.
They need to spawn camp a little bit further here. They're behind in ultimates. Kraken may or may not even need to use Transcendence, but what does need to happen is put enough pressure on Jam in the spawn that they're forced to use all 4 of these ultimates,
yes,
or 5 coming up. That's going to be really important. Alter Ego might have just slid back a little bit too much, though.
Yeah, like if you can make them use ultimates just to get to the cart, let alone win the fight, then you're ahead. And speaking of, Joyboy going down once again with that Primal Rage. The self-destruct from Sadboy has to do a lot of work. Render, Dragon Blade gets Sadboy, who will not remech. This is going the way of Jam already. Xiao Bao may have something to say about it, but he's got to get a lot more work done. Render straight in onto PB and Jam. And ATAR still relatively untouched in the fight. He gets the payload back underway. Alter Ego, unless they get some crazy staggers. As I say that, I was going to say they should be able to get another defense here, but it's looking dicey now with the late kill on a Kraken.
I don't know what's going on with Alter Ego, but they go from great defense to awful defense to great defense to awful defense. Second time we've seen Joyboy die with Primal. Second time we've seen members of Alter Ego going down while a Kraken's Transcendence is happening. And it's like they have the right tools, they have the right setup, and they set up really well, and then they just lose the fight.
Okay, the stall is there. Joyboy does get him with the Primal Rage, but unfortunately the backup from the team was actually quite late, so Joyboy does go down. He at least got the Transcendence out, but Alter Ego need to do something with that. They need to capitalize on it. Sadboy losing his mech as well means they kind of have to just do it with the DPSs alone. And as I say that, ATAR already looking for the ones on the back line. Also PB and Jam caught by Crimson will self-destruct. Again, just not right timing. Joyboy in too early, the rest of the team in too late, and now it's just staggers, it's trickles. This is going to be free ult charge and free progress for Jam.
This is going to let Jam push the cart off and over that sort of choke area, get it past that underpass, get it maybe even around the corner. Alter Ego got to wait for respawns, got to wait to regroup, wait for the tag visor of Xiao Bao as well, which should be coming up any moment now. And they need to hold this cart before it reaches the next corner. Very important.
Xiao Bao's got to get a lot of work done with this tactical visor. In fact, this is the time to pop it. Yeah, straight on to Prowler, but
Prowler.
not before losing Sad Boy completely, and Xiao Bao now finding nothing. He was wanting to get Prowler and then close out on those low health tanks, but got absolutely nothing instead. And Jam, still resources available, still marching the payload forward. Alter Ego, again, is just disjointed. Where's the coordination? Where's the target prioritization? They're getting split. They're getting picked apart by AVRL.
He's going to kind of force back here, but Jam are definitely quite resilient on this point. Alter Ego with the defensive advantage, now finding a couple kills in there. They're going to get more members in this respawn, but not if they're losing too many themselves.
Yeah, finally getting a few through here. Xiao Bao gets Prowler. They didn't quite close out on Virginia, though, and now the Transcendence to come in. If Virginia had been dead here, this could have been very winnable for Alter Ego. Instead, it's still just kind of ongoing. Another Pulse Bomb out for AVRL in the course of that same fight. Doesn't quite get the closeout on Wrecker. PB and Jam, though, out of the picture. These are now becoming even trades, though, and that does slowly start to favor Alter Ego. And at last, Jam Gaming going to have to back off, at least for now.
And Render's going to have to lead that charge back to spawn as well. Alter Ego going to be happy with at least the time that they've held for. Only 1 minute and 01 seconds remaining. Xiao Bao back onto the tactical visor. Hopefully this one goes a little bit better for him than the last one. AVRL did have a pretty good impact there, but the respawns coming out just were too overwhelming.
And Alter Ego do come into this with a good rack of tools to use, at least in terms of that tactical visor, which already gets committed, and PB and Jam having a good opener onto Sleepy Easy as well. Render just not able to get anything done, just pressured out too much, and the support's going down. Render dies, having not even got the mech that he was spending the entire time hacking away at. That's a very good one from Alter Ego, but now very lean on resources.
The sad thing as well, Virginia just jumping back to spawn mid-primal rage. A lot was invested into the middle of that fight, and now no time remaining. This has to be do or die for Jam. They got barely anything to work with. Alter Ego kind of climbing back on there. Kraken, if he can get a very nicely timed Transcendence in here, which also saves members, that could secure the fight.
AVRL able to get back. PB also successfully able to retreat, just going back in for the scrap, and he goes down thanks to Render coming in to help his co-DPS. They are still relatively set up here, though, as we hit overtime. Early Transcendence out of a Kraken. They're looking to try and seal the deal in this fight. Trying to DPS down Virginia. A little bit caught out. Needs to retreat to the team. The follow-up, not quite there, at least not just yet. And able to get the Valkyrie out. Prowler is, and they get the kills through. It's only Sleep Easy dead on the side of Jam, but they're not quite getting progress either. That's one from PB. That could just be the one that hammers the nail down into the coffin. And Alter Ego now, Xiao Bao well set up. Sightlines abound. Just dishing the damage out. AVRL, he is almost a one-man army, but not quite. And that, I mean, like you said, a good defense, then a bad defense, but that was those good defenses paying off in the end for Alter Ego.
Well, every time Alter Ego had a great defense, they were able to shave off so much time, get so much pressure, the tempo in their favor as well. The minor spawn camp on B bought them so much time. There's a lot that was happening on both A and B that was so good for Alter Ego that they had the time saved up on C to win the game. And that's what makes the difference at the end of the day, because the other way around was Alter Ego. They had more of the time on the C, but they just couldn't quite cap it themselves.
Well, now we might have a game on our hands, guys, and I do want to say that we're safe from the dab bet, which is now irrelevant because we have finally achieved a non-4-0 result for this week. But a one apiece, I mean, it still kind of keeps things a little bit up in the air here. Alter Ego certainly looked a little bit better there than they did, obviously, on Control, but it wasn't without its faults.
Yeah, I mean, like we kind of said there, right? Like the attack was all good the way through. They lost their time on C because of just a lot of really great plays out of Jam. And I also think Alter Ego not giving them enough respect when they were retreating. We know we saw a lot of those late deaths coming in for Alter Ego, especially by the hands of AVRL and Virginia. But then on their own defense, they were getting a lot more consistent fight wins, and Jam were getting stalled up a lot more often. Like I said at the end, that is what ended up making the difference for them. But like, you've got to credit the defense there. It was actually good, even though sometimes it was not at all.
There were moments there where for Alter Ego, you really thought they could actually hold on A, full hold that is. Full hold maybe on B as well, or really threatened to full hold on B. So it was like they gave away those two defenses, whereas for Jam, it wasn't really there. For Jam, they had to really bunker up on C. It was all or nothing.
I'd like to see just that happen a little bit more consistently for Alter Ego, and they could actually close this out now 3-1 if they could do that.
All right, big words there from Pixie. We'll find out if that's going to be the truth or if we finally might just get our first tiebreaker of the AU Contenders. First, though, we have to go to a break, but don't go anywhere because this series